This is Drop Tent Media Network.
Late Bloomers with comedians Karen Schwartz and Sandra Doss.
Hi, welcome to the Late Bloomers podcast. I am Karen Schwartz, and this is my dear friend, comedian Sandra Doss.
Hi.
So today we are going to talk about just, that what happens when you become a person with responsibility of our age, where, a lot's being asked of you. And, just that idea of not necessarily saying no, but that idea of taking a moment to pause and to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. Because I think that as women especially, and I'm sure that men out there feel the same way, I feel like we have, I don't know, maybe do you ever feel selfish for taking time for yourself?
I have,
yeah.
But usually I don't, because I think of what happens in an airplane.
Right.
The rule is always put the mask on yourself, and there's a reason, and then help others.
Right.
And the reason is that if you are not functioning at 100%
exactly.
or close to 100%, you cannot be there for others.
No.
And so in order to do your best for others, in our cases, family, friends, whatever, work, you have to take care of yourself to some extent. 100%. I mean, it's not like, okay, I'm going to take a month's vacation and I'm going to go to Fiji. I mean, it's not like that, but it's more like, don't neglect things that will, make sure that you're not overextended, or that you're just, hungry or tired or you're wearing yourself out. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I found too, and this is just, initially when, because, the premise of what we're doing here is that we're late bloomers. And something late in life that Sandra and I, before we met through our shared love of comedy, just very recently, really, but found we have a lot to connect on, is that, we were just so busy with everything else we were doing in our lives, like our families, our day jobs, the love of comedy that at the time, felt like, ooh, that's my, I don't want to call it a guilty pleasure, but that's that thing I'm giving my time to because I love it. Right.
Yeah.
And that became that thing that I can say that I feel like I do for myself.
Right.
And I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah.
I feel like it's important to not forget, as we now become more busy in that pursuit,
mm-hmm.
to still take time for that other stuff that just to kind of keep your own battery charged in a way, just to kind of keep your passion for it, because you don't want it to feel like a job. Yeah. You don't want to lose your love for it. So you do need to kind of remember to stop and take care of yourself, because if you feel overextended or tired or you're burning out, or you're trying to juggle too much, if you're feeling like you're doing too much, and then it doesn't feel like it's for you anymore. So I thought it would be a really valuable way to spend some time to talk about just some of those things, even those little daily rituals, just those little things that just can kind of make us continue to feel energized and good about whatever we're doing, no matter what kind of crazy thing gets thrown our way. You know what I mean? Because you're going to have stuff that's unexpected that you don't want. But just whatever those little things are that you can even if it's as simple as that cup of coffee in the morning, what are those things that are worth doing for yourself, just to
be your best,
to be your best for everybody,
for you,
but for yourself,
everybody.
For yourself, for who you're working to be on stage,
right?
For the day job that's, feeding your kids and your dog and paying for your house, and for your companion, and you know what I mean? All those people who matter to you.
Right.
So, how to make it work, how to make the balance
comedy,
work.
Because we take it seriously, and it is kind of a job if you're taking it seriously.
If you're lucky, it becomes a job.
Right.
And that's the irony.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you get enough work that it starts to feel like it's becoming a job.
But, but still enjoy it. I mean, don't get to the point where it's I have to, and maybe I guess eventually it could, if things go well, it could turn into like the thing that we do, instead of our jobs. But yeah, it's especially because comedy happens mostly at night. And and you will find, I mean, I don't know, at whatever stage in life that you are, I mean, the listeners, and the viewers.
Yeah.
You kind of, you're not up for staying up that late after a certain age.
Well, a full day too. A full day.
After a full day.
Of
working or whatever.
I mean, you're an attorney and I am a teacher. And so we're both taking care of a lot of people all day long.
Yeah. But, I've talked to comedians that do this. I only do this.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for almost 20 years or almost 15 years. Yeah. And they're like 40. They're still, young or late 30s. And they're like, you know what? I don't want to be out that late. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, sometimes just to get to your turn at an open mic, like you're there way later into the
because you have to drive there and we're driving.
Well, you work all day.
Yeah.
And then
you're driving to
if you're juggling a little extra for work, then you're getting to the mic later, then you're signing up later, then your time going up to the mic is later.
Right.
So and there's just no magic way to like get more sleep. You know what I mean? So, but there are just certain things I've been trying to be more mindful about just to make sure I'm kind of keeping my bucket full, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, because I have found that I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life from having my life exactly the way it is. And I don't want to have any of that change in any kind of negative way by like not being my best self around the people who matter to me. So it's a balance. It's definitely a balance.
Yeah.
And
it's hard because for instance, I've always loved comedy. I've been an avid consumer of stand-up comedy since I think ever since I started watching SNL in the 70s, the Lucy and all that, because I just fell in love with the Samurai Chef and Eddie Murphy, and I thought this is just I would transport to whatever that was really a magical thing, and I thought this is amazing. And that was not stand up, but it's more sketches. But then I realized this is like stand up, and then I saw Eddie Murphy's special, and I was probably still a minor, but I saw it, and it's fine. It didn't mess me up. I mean, and I loved it, and then I started to consume comedy in general, and so I thought, this is smart, this is fun, this is challenging, and this is really, really an interesting way of playing with words and acting. It's like all in one,
Yeah.
And just, the challenge of making an audience laugh. That's the hardest thing. You can make them laugh. Cry easier than you can make them laugh, I think. And so that's just wonderful. And I thought, I really want to do that, but it takes time, so I, at the time I was like, no, I can't do that. But, every moment I had to probably try a little bit of that, I would, like at get-togethers, parties, or retreats. At school, I went to a Catholic school, all girls, and we would have retreats sometimes. Yeah. And, we would have sketches, and I would take advantage of that to make it, more humorous, sometimes too humorous for the nuns' taste. But stuff like that, or even in my career, there were times when I had some traffic courts and stitches, and the whole thing was called to order. And I thought, oh my God, this always happens. So I have some ability to do this, to have this effect on people. By the way, nothing ever, it didn't have dire consequences. People just laughed a little bit too much, but it was not a case in which anybody lost much more than, pride, dignity, and, some money.
Yeah. It wasn't anything. It wasn't like a life or death or anything.
No.
Sandra, do you want to ask it? Because I know Karen was talking about sleep. Both of you, what did you guys find trying to deal with like being a comic and not getting a lot of sleep or dealing?
Oh, yes. I mean, I'm an insomniac, and I talk about it in my stand-up.
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of more important that you have to deal with it, actually.
Yeah, actually,
it's something that I've always had trouble with, and now I have more trouble with that.
Right.
And I still don't know why, but I think it's it must be some sort of anxiety, because I've made an inventory of what could be causing it, and there is no real cause other than, I don't know, maybe I have some OCD about something that I haven't done, and I don't realize that it bothers me as much as it does. And there I am, wide awake at 2:30 a.m. But once I go to sleep, I am asleep.
Right.
Then I can sleep, but it's just getting to that point. Karen, on the other hand, she is falling asleep on her feet at 10:30, and I'm so envious.
But I do have help with that, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. I have there was a day when it used to be considered attention deficit disorder, and now it's called executive functioning disorder. So I used to have ADD, but now I'm effed, which is kind of funny. But the medication for attention deficit or executive functioning, whatever you want to call it, it's kind of like a chicken or an egg thing, because I also have generalized anxiety. When you realize you're having that issue with your focus, and then that leads to the anxiety of feeling like you're overwhelmed all the time because there's too many things going on and you're not able to, get things sorted and prioritized properly. So I'm medicated for the anxiety.
Oh, okay. We're learning stuff together here.
I'm on a low dose of Lexapro, and it does make me tired. So I know to take it at night.
Oh, so that's why. I was so envious.
I'm not going to lie.
She's falling asleep. It's 10:30.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I'll tell you what, the meds kind of help, because otherwise my mind would race. And
really?
It used to.
My mind races.
Oh, constantly.
But I'm not taking anything, because I think that I've seen doctors, and they think that probably I can handle it with, what I'm doing. I make lists. I make lists of things that are pending in my life, as ridiculous as it may sound.
No, that's actually a very good.
I do a brain dump of pending things.
But the list, writing it down is a very mentally satisfying practice.
Yeah.
I've also found that exercise, when I make time, and again, it's got to be a priority, because that self-care, it's not selfish. For me, I have to make sure I get in those just a couple of miles at the gym, just doing something. It doesn't have to be crazy. I don't need to be running full out on a treadmill or anything crazy, but just something.
So you do that every day?
No, I don't. I should. Over the summer, I look forward to getting in better habits with that. But those times that I do some form of exercise, and then I'll tell you what, I know a Reiki told me to do this, and it sounded like a lot of hocus pocus, but I'll tell you what, the Epsom salt bath. You just put a little bit of that Dr. Teal's or whatever in your water and just soak. It's like that. You just feel your muscles just kind of you just feel all that tension just kind of melt out of you. And it feels spectacular. Yeah. Because after I exercise, I do the salt bath, which just makes my muscles feel awesome.
Right.
But then, it's kind of like when you brine a turkey, you don't want to just get out of just towel off and go to I still, because I'm still in my head. I mean,
but I mean, I don't know if everybody does this.
Anxious person. I still like to do the extra rinse.
But I mean, if you're marinating, because that's what we're doing when you're in a bathtub.
Or brining. If you're using a lot of salt.
Yes.
You're brining.
Yeah. But I mean, you have that on yourself. I mean, Epsom salts or whatever, you're salty.
If there's any cannibals listening to our show at home.
So
throwing in some carrots and potatoes.
Carrots and potatoes. No, but you have to shower afterwards because you
Yeah.
have all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I do, at least I
Yeah.
do. But I don't take baths because I don't know. To me, it feels like I hate to say this, and I'm wasting time because I feel that I want to bring other things to do while I'm in the tub. And sometimes that doesn't make sense because things are going to get damaged, all kinds of things. I feel like bringing my toaster. No.
I just had a flash from the classic episode of Seinfeld where Kramer makes the
sausage.
He prepares the meal in the shower.
He's making sausage,
but he was cooking. He was using his shower. He was trying to make his showers more efficient, and like everybody was enjoying the salad. Like, oh, he's like, I made it in my shower. They're all like, everyone's. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The showers are fine.
He installed the garbage disposal in his shower.
Oh my God.
He felt like he was using his time efficiently.
Yeah. If I'm taking a bath, then that's I don't know. I haven't taken a bath in a long time, and I should because maybe the next place that I have will not have a bathtub, so I should take advantage of it.
I said, self-care isn't selfish. You just lay there. You just get a good sweat. You just lay there.
Yeah, and
then you just get up. Like I said, I got to follow up by rinsing.
Yeah, exercise helps me a lot, and I become. It really sparks creativity. That's what I was saying. And I even like write ideas come to me about bits, about, things to talk about on the podcast, about other things. It just somehow there's a connection between exercise and getting new ideas
I like to listen to work of mine that I've recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Like either our show or if I have a spot on somebody else's podcast or just even a set somebody recorded for me at a mic. I like to listen to that while I'm on the equipment. So if I'm making a face like it's okay because it just looks like I'm pushing through some other kind of pain, but I do like to play that back, just as it's a good time because you're kind of you go into that kind of like a meditative state if you're just walking and your body's just doing something totally like automatic and repetitive, like just if you're on a treadmill or just something that's not super high impact, but your body is moving, and then you can listen to how you sounded.
Right.
There's something kind of nice about it because you're only focused on really what you're listening to.
Right.
You know what I mean? But your body's moving. You've got the endorphins kind of releasing. And like, okay. I feel like that's a nice environment to listen to yourself. You kind of
that's a good
your
idea.
Own best audience. Yeah,
that's a good idea because I find it very difficult to listen to myself or look at. I hate looking at myself.
And by removing yourself from your house, because like right now, like we're broadcasting this from my house, and to be honest, like my eyes, because of my focus issues. Put those dishes away over there.
I see.
So like if you remove yourself, if you're going to be doing something actually of any value for yourself, remove yourself from the place where you would be distracted, feeling guilty for taking that time for yourself. Because like if you're looking at that pile of laundry that you're like, oh, I should be folding that or whatever. Like, no, you shouldn't. But if you need to like physically leave your house to get away from it, go do that. Like,
Karen is so much better than I am. I see a pile of laundry and I'm like, oh, to hell with that. I'm not gonna. Laundry is gonna be there long after I'm dead.
My end result is to hell because that pile will sit there for a few days.
Yes.
But during those few days, like I'll nibble at my nails. I won't get a lot of other things done.
It will bother you.
No, I'll do like 5 minutes of 10 different things on some weird circuit where nothing actually gets all the way done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I'll get overwhelmed if there's more than one thing. So I kind of need to compartmentalize.
Have you tried the Pomodoro system?
What is that?
I don't remember why it was called Pomodoro, but it's I think it was because it was a tomato. I don't know. There's something about tomatoes, like a spool, like a tomato timer, or something, or a time. You give 20. Like 20, I don't know if it's 20 minutes. It could be less, but a certain amount of minutes devoted to this task, whatever it is. And then when that time's up, then you can, then I take a break or do something else.
And then it's like an
But you
like
put
an
a
alarm.
timer.
You set a
You
timer.
put a timer.
So it's like I will only do this for this minute.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that way you make, I guess, statistically, or the people that came up with that system, they realized that people accomplished more when they devoted that block of time.
To what you just said about that practice, I feel like I oftentimes, so if I have a day that's like wide open looking, which doesn't come often, I don't get that as much done as those days that are crazy where I might have that 15 or 20 minute little pocket here and there where I'm like, oh, I got to go do that. You know what I mean? So like if you
need structure,
I do a lot. I function way better within structure.
Yes.
100%.
I do. I think we all do to some extent. Yeah, to some extent. Or even if it's like loose, or I have to give myself, that's where the lists help, because you kind of give yourself blocks of time for a certain amount of, for depending on what you're doing. I mean, sometimes you don't know how long it's going to take to do X, Y, Z, but sometimes you kind of know. And so, that way, okay, this is the time that I have for this. This is the budget that I have for the budget of, budgeting your time.
Yeah.
And, that, I don't know, that makes me feel better, and it relaxes me.
Yeah.
When I do that. And the thing is that I encourage everybody else in my household to do that, and they don't. And maybe that's what stresses me. I don't know, but different people, whatever. But that works for me. But self-care, and it can take many forms.
Oh, it can. There's
some people need gardening. Some people need, I don't know, something else to feel that they're getting whatever. Recharging their batteries.
I love gardening.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, your garden is beautiful.
I'm really into flowers. So like my, it was a few years ago when I went through a pretty crazy, it was a rough breakup, because it was with somebody who I thought, eventual moving in together and getting married was going to be taking place. And then it felt very abrupt that wasn't the case. My response to that was I drove to a nursery, and when I was driving home, I had like $300 worth of flowers in the back of my car. But it was so funny as I looked back at the flowers in the car, I'm like, oh, just the picture of this. Like, I don't even need to tell my friends we broke up. Like, if I just send the picture, it's like, tell me you broke up with him without telling me you broke up with him. It was just like, it just looked like, like plant mom, like driving home, like, this is what I'm doing now. But
we'll be right back.
So not to like shift gears too hard, but like chase like just those things that kind of fill your personal bucket, whether it manifests in something really, for me, I'm very visual with being an art teacher. So I like the payoff of like seeing a plant do well, or even mowing the grass or things like that, where immediately it looks better. So you feel good about the time you put into it.
Right.
And just, that more and on stage, making somebody laugh. Nothing beats that. That's like the ultimate of all the rushes. But something I found that I thought was kind of, an interesting thing, and it was suggested by a friend, was just a workbook where, where it wasn't about taking care of that plant or making or doing something for that other person. It was like, it's a very specific, just between you and you kind of a dynamic. Just to, if you're not into journaling necessarily, or if you're looking for more prompts, just the idea of grabbing, this is like one of so many, like there's thousands of these out there on Amazon. If you look,
just remember to close the door, folks.
Yeah, but there's, now that's a whole different kind of self-love.
Okay, well,
this is
I
more
couldn't
about,
resist it.
This is more about a writing out self-love. And if you're into the other kind of self-love, look, like there's no shame in that either.
Right.
No shame in that at all. You got to do what you got to do.
Right.
Miss, I don't lay in the bathtub. Anyway, but seriously, this is, like just that idea of journaling or writing or responding to a prompt about like things you always wished you did, or just it kind of prompts you to think like, wow, if I could do anything for myself, what would it be? And I kind of liked that if you reserve just even like 10 minutes of your day towards something like that for yourself, just to like make yourself think about those things. It kind of helps you gauge the way you respond to other decisions you're making throughout your day, whether or not they're good for you or not. So I kind of like that.
So it makes you like stop and reflect on things?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. And if you're like, wait, is this like, does this ultimately serve me toward what's best for me? You know what I mean? You know, and like, because sometimes, you want to just say yes to everything. And then sometimes you got to stop and think, hey, is the juice really worth the squeeze? Like, do I really want to make myself do that?
Yeah.
Just like, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for somebody else?
It talks about self-doubt and self-compassion and just be mindful of.
And if you're like me, where like I'm one of those people who like just needs people. I mean, like some people just need everybody to like them, and I self-admittedly, that's exactly how I am. If I were to be up at night worrying about something, it's if somebody doesn't like me, and like, and you kind of need to find a way to let that go, and not let that control the way you handle your own decisions. So
yeah, I can say no. My only problem is that if I say yes to something, and for some reason I say yes to something, and somebody else is also involved in that, and that person doesn't give any thought or consideration to the fact that I could have chosen something else. Right. Then that is what.
Well, that feels like disrespect.
Yeah. 100%. And that really hits me.
Oh, yeah.
That really hits me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because, we don't have unlimited time.
No.
And nobody does, but it's, so that's the only thing. But I can say no to certain things because you just can't, sometimes you have to choose, or, you say, well, now I'm going to pick this, but then next time it will be this other thing that I said no to. Sometimes you don't have a chance to say yes to, sometimes that's the only chance you get. You hope you get a second chance. Yeah, but it is difficult. It's difficult. I don't know how I've been able to be like that selective. I mean, it doesn't work all the time, but for the most part.
The thing is, like, the thing about you that draws people to you is when you're your truest self, right? And so if you start to sacrifice who you are to please others, you're going to fail. You're going to wind up not being you anymore.
Yeah.
And it's going to, at the end, it's not going to connect. It's not going to work anymore. So, those things that make you, that attract people to you, that make you funny, that make you the person who you actually are, you need to put a little, that person deserves your time. So, and that's really like kind of like the message, I think, like that we were kind of going for in this episode, like that, that person who is you at your core deserves that time. Like it's, that person is no less important than all the other people you take care of. You know what I mean? And I feel like we as people, especially like us, because we're, in a maternal place in life. And I know we have a lot of parents out there listening to us.
And even people who don't have children.
Or if you don't have kids, if you've got like anybody in your life that you feel protective of, that you take care of, that you put before yourself.
Right.
I feel like once you reach our age of being like a late bloomer, so to speak, it's not about you anymore. You're putting everybody else before you. But if you don't take that time for you, you don't want to lose yourself. You don't want to lose yourself in the work you're doing because you're very important at the core of it.
Right.
And you're only good to everybody else if you're taking care of you first.
That's right. It's the airplane, the mask, the oxygen mask.
Exactly.
Thing. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Of course, we would do it anyway. I don't know about you, but I would. I mean, what? Oxygen? But no, I don't know. And that's what I said before I was a mother. When I became a mother, I was like, oh my God, everything is. And I don't know how that happened because, I'm not into children, folks.
No, but you see that baby.
But suddenly I had one and I'm like, what happened to me? I know, right? Isn't that something? You hear some kid and you immediately turn around to see if the kid is okay.
You hear a kid crying, you're like, I would die for you right now. What do you need? Exactly. Like, that's just what happens.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess your dolls, your loved ones or whatever, your nephews and nieces, it can happen at some point. So. It happens at some point. It happens. I don't know. I think men are a little bit better at kind of letting go something, like they're doing something and then they kind of let it go and move on to something else. And so I think they're, it's in that regard, it's easier for them.
I feel like the stereotype about like
Most men, of
the
course.
male caregiver type is that the dad does like, well, if you look at social media, it's always like the fun dad, like the dad doing the funny video about the funny thing he did while he was taking care of the kid. So you don't really see that side, at least promoted through the media as much. And I'm sure it's there in real life, but you don't see the portrayal of men as being like anxious and stressed out about the kids.
Well,
I think that's kind of a role reserved for women.
Well, there's
and then the
one
dad is
important-
like the cool, fun dad.
There is an
you know what I
important
mean?
factor.
But I do think that men just get just as upset and worried and all those things.
They do. But there's one factor.
And I think that just on the same time, moms can be fun too.
There is one factor, and it could be a
Yeah.
generational thing. It's probably a generational thing. And it is society's expectation, and of course, it's probably less in the US, but it still exists. I mean, I grew up in Panama, in Latin America. I mean, it's the society will be very harsh with women that,
do you feel like the expectation?
The expectation, that is true.
Like the woman is judged more for the outcome of the child.
Yeah. Or not only that, but for certain things that are like, why would it be different if I, even if they don't have children or are single or whatever, it's just different. I mean, it's a whole rabbit hole and we can talk about that at some point, but I mean, it's society's expectation. So that removes like a significant layer.
Oh yeah.
And it removes
and
that.
as weird as it like, so even for like, I mean, I'm 50 years old and just very recently I started getting my nails professionally done, which I'd never done in my entire life, except for, for my sister's wedding, maybe 20 years ago. And that time I was married way longer than that, even though I'm no longer married. But, by the count of the number of times I've had my nails done, I could count on less than one hand. But, I've noticed though that these seemingly little things I'm doing to feel pretty or to feel put together that I'm letting somebody else do for me, where it forces me to sit still.
Yes.
Forces me just to kind of go into like a meditative, or even just watch something mindless on the TV at the salon. It feels so incredible. And like, I never did that before, but I'll tell you what, I won't go back. It feels so good.
That's good.
Yeah. It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
I totally get you. I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just that my lifestyle is just, of course, now there are other options, but in the past when it was just painting your nail, doing the traditional manicure, I would destroy that before getting to my car, really.
Oh yeah.
Because I like a lot of stuff that are not kind to your nails.
So that's the thing with my job, being so like because like, I'll wedge like 100 pounds of clay to get ready for my students that I'll have all day, where I'm taking like raw clay out of a bag and, and there's grog in it and it's like basically like sandpaper all over your hands. If I get my nails actually done somewhere with the dip stuff or whatever, it does not hurt my nails at all. I mean, I can wash it off and I'm like, oh, they're still exactly the same as when I left.
Oh yeah. Now they're like armor.
And I used to make the excuse of, I can't get my nails done because of my job. Actually, I would never go back to not having it done because of my job. So it feels kind of nice. And like I said, that little bit of time I give myself just to sit there and let somebody else just kind of like tell me like, oh, honey, you have arthritis in your hands. I'm like, yes, I do. Like, it feels nice.
Oh,
yeah, it feels nice.
Yeah, I get them every now and then for weddings and that kind of thing. But those manicures are very, they are like nowadays they're like helmets.
Oh yeah, it's like armor.
But they can, they can also.
It's like 3 inches thick of plastic.
Yeah, but they can weaken your. I don't know. I'm just kind of scared of.
Okay.
So
we don't need to agree on that.
Yeah,
but
we don't. But they look good. They look great.
You know what? I'm happy. It's good. But I'll tell you what. Like, and so like there's if you're ever going through a rough patch in your life, there's also something like that. I didn't even realize it was a resource to me until I was dealing with it. But there's just so many, like if you're going through anything really specific, there's a lot of actual just support groups out there, even on social media for like whatever it is you're enduring, like whatever you're enduring, where you don't feel like you're alone with it. And I felt like, I went through something a few years ago that was incredibly difficult because I felt very alone in it. But then, there are support groups out there for everything under the sun, where they have meetings all the time where you can just hop in and you can just talk to people. And it's totally worth it. I would totally 100% recommend that. I was going through, just to, not to overshare, but I was going through, well, I'm going to share it because I think a lot of parents have been through this. As a divorced parent, I was feeling a lack of connection with my kids who were going back and forth to their other parent. And I felt like the relationship between me and them had really taken a major hit. And, there's just a lot of resources out there for people who are feeling that way. And and I'm very thankful that, I feel like the relationship I have with my kids has benefited from that time I took to research that, to be part of that conversation, to really look into that, to read about it, to kind of lean in, with them. So where I'm still my full self, they're still their full selves, but we're just closer. So it's, nice. There's just, it's never the wrong thing to take that time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you need to. Yeah, it's important that people just, take the time to see what's out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. I know we're coming in the end here. Do you guys want to tell everybody where to subscribe and anything you want to
absolutely
for your shows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. So please. So our socials. What should we do? Our socials?
Ours. Check out our social media. It's in the
at
the
Late
scrolling
Bloomers, Late Bloomers,
Late Bloomers podcast. Please subscribe
subscribe
and share and tell your friends.
Yes,
and check out our social media. It's on the screen.
Yes.
So we're on Instagram mainly, and I guess Facebook.
We're both on Facebook. I'm Karen Schwarz on Facebook.
Yeah, and on TikTok, but mostly Facebook and Instagram, I would say. Yeah, I know younger people who go on Facebook, but
So I'm Schwarz. I'm at SchwarzBollinger on Instagram, and on Facebook I'm Karen Schwarz.
Yes, so. And I'm Sandra Doss Comedy on Instagram.
Yep.
And Sandra M. Doss on Facebook. Yep. Just because I love my middle initial. Hey. So. Yeah.
What's your middle name?
Marina.
Mine's
Marina.
Yes. Okay. Marina.
Yeah.
Marina and Artemis. There's our middle names, you guys. Okay. Don't steal our identity. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. And catch us next time. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Hey, take care.
And do some self-care.
Do some self-care.
Bye.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is comedian Neil Wood and
Adam Nutter.
We can't do it like that. You have to sound like a human being. This cut, that's insane. Because I'm realizing how little you're talking.
Adam Nutter.
I could just take, if you just want me to, honestly, you know what we need to do is you just need to get that clean.
Adam Nutter.
And then I'll just pop it in wherever I need to. But
Adam Nutter. Let's do that.
Come listen to the Cult of Us podcast. That's our promo.
Adam Nutter.
A Drop Tent Media Network podcast. Go to droptent.com or search Cult of Us podcast on your favorite podcast platform.
This has been a Drop Tent Media production.